be someone who was impacted by cancer. I never thought that cancer would be a part of me or my family's life the way that it has been. Everybody knows someone who has cancer. I was involved in music projects. I'm a songwriter, and everything changed. I had to put a lot of things that I was doing on hold to try and fight for my life. So this show is my real life, and I hope that I can inspire someone to be strong and to know that you can make it.
Doing work. One of my coworker came in, and she walked by. She was like, "Yeah, I'm back." She had stopped, and she backed all the way back up towards the door, and then came back and stopped and looked at me. And she was like, "I'm so glad you told me a while ago that your hair was gone." She was like, "I don't know what I would have done a minute ago when I first came in and saw you with nothing on your head." And she was like, "How does it feel?" I was like, "It feels good. It feels good."
I
And she
had my
was
days
like,
where I didn't care, and I had days where I did care. I mean, I remember I went to pick my daughter up at school, and she said, and I didn't wrap my hair, and she was like,
You went out ball?
Yeah, I would go out ball. Yeah,
Tell them about the coffee shop. When you went in the coffee shop and people thought you were a punk rocker.
When I remember I went into, it was funny, I had my mom on the phone, and I had gone to Applebee's, and I told her, "Watch, Mommy." I said, she was on the phone, I said, "I'm going to walk in and everybody's going to stare at me." Because I don't think I did my eyebrows either that day.
Oh.
So I walked in, and sure enough, the guys, the kids, the women, and and that's what I didn't like about chemo was my skin color changed.
Yeah.
So I had like this that Mary Jane candy color.
Yeah.
So I looked sick. So that day with no eyebrows, I told my mother, I was like, "Watch, Mommy, they're gonna stare at me." And there were days I didn't care, and there were days I did care. I don't want people to look at me and know. I mean, it's obvious. You see somebody, you knew something is wrong.
Right.
But
I don't want you staring at me. It's like, "Oh God, is she gonna pass out right now?"
So there was days I didn't care, and there were days I did. And I remember picking my daughter up from school, and she was like, "I am so proud of you." And I was like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because you didn't care, Mommy. You just came out like that, and you showed your bald head." And I mean, it was amazing how she also would watch. And we went to a play from her old school, and we sat at the front row. And I didn't wrap my hair that day. I didn't want to wrap my hair. I wore a hat. And it got really hot. And I took that hat off, and I can say I can feel all the eyes because people were like in the front row. So I mean, these are parents and students that my daughter had been in school with for for 4 years. So I mean, they all knew me, and most of them already knew that I had gone through it. But it was that I was going through it. But then for them to see it,
I had gone to my old job, which is still at GW, to visit them because I hadn't seen them in a while. And a couple of them hadn't seen me bald yet. And then I found out that day that a couple of them didn't even know that I had cancer. I walked in the office, spoke to my old boss. I was just like, "Hey Maxie, how you doing?" She was like, "Great." She was like, "Oh, you look wonderful." Because I didn't have anything on my head. She was like, "You really look good." She know how are things going. I was giving her the rundown. Their student worker at the time was a student worker when I was in the office. She would overhear my old boss and her talk about this person that had cancer, and he would give her an update before I could come and visit her and give her an update. The student worker had no idea that they were talking about me. And she was like, "Wait a minute, that's who you and Mark were talking about this whole time?" And I was like, "Yeah, it was me." She was like, "I'm so sorry." I was like, "Honey, don't apologize." I was like, "You hear me now?" She was like, "Yes." I was like, "Don't I sound the same way I did when I used to work?" And she was like, "Actually, yeah." I was like, "So it's okay." I was like, "I have my days when I am slow and I am tired and I am drained, and I have my good days like today."
I can't see how you work during chemo, because you know what? I would get so fatigued, literally, that if I dropped my daughter off, I wasn't the one to pick her up. And then my memory was so, like for instance, I can look at this and know it's a cup, and I could not remember what it was. I couldn't remember what the name, that it was called a cup, but I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And the wrong words would come out of my mouth. It was just,
I couldn't stay at home. There was no way I was staying at home. But my bosses worked it out to where every other Thursday and Friday I was off. It was automatic. Because every other Thursday was chemo. Every other Friday was my Neulasta shot. So I'd have that Thursday and Friday plus Saturday and Sunday to get myself back together. They always knew when I came in that following Monday I was going to be a little slower that first part of the week. But as long as I was fine, because like my boss was a doctor anyway.
Right.
So if anything was wrong, he would have been like, you know, why are you here? You need to go home. Or do we need to take you to the hospital? So God blessed me with that job for a reason, because he knew what I was getting ready to go through. I had the right people around me. But when I went to the office, I was talking to them, and I was talking to the student worker. You let her know, you know, everything is fine, I'm good, you know, don't worry about it. And she was like, I've never known anybody with cancer. I was like, well, now you know me. And if you ever meet anybody, yes, and I'm going to get through this. I'm fine. And she was like, okay. But while we were talking, the person that she works for in the office came in and started talking to her. She didn't realize it was me, because like I said, I'm bald as I want to be. I'm leaning in the chair, my back is to her when she comes in. So she's saying, such and so-and-so, blah, 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 and she was getting ready to answer, and I turned around, and I'm just like, hi, so-and-so. She was like, and took like these big giant, like 2 big giant steps back, with her mouth, her jaw like hit the floor, and she took 2 giant steps back. Some people, that's when I tell people, I was like, I'm wired a little different, because I turned around and I started laughing. I was like, that's the best response I have had to my bald head ever since I have been bald. And my old boss was like, she was like, you are evil. I was like, how am I evil? That I'm laughing at this? It's not my fault she didn't know. I was like, to be honest, Mac, I was like, someone else who was wired not like me would probably be here crying and probably like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that. They took it that way. I was like, you ought to know me, but I'm not wired like that. I was like, this is cracking me up.
My experience was different. I think what altered even my experience more for me was the severity of the pain, since I had MRSA and we didn't know it. So I had MRSA, staph. So it was so severe, the pain, that from the time I had the mastectomy till November, from September to November, I was slowly deteriorating and dying, and I was already on chemo. So I was hospitalized when I had the mastectomy in September. I was hospitalized in October. They kept me in there for 5 days. They sent me home. They said it was an infection. They suppressed it. Right. I went home with a PICC line and stuff, and they suppressed it. But they didn't realize it was MRSA, so it wasn't treated right. So it was just getting worse. By November, I couldn't get out of bed anymore. The severity of my pain was around the clock, 24 hours, where I felt that I had a cinder block literally sitting on my, that's how it was unbearable. So for me, it was like, it was just, it was, as a matter of fact, I had my checkup at the beginning of this, on the 25th of July. And I broke down and cried again. And so we agreed that now we're going to go into Lombardi, into what's downstairs? At the Orsman building versus in his office, because I used to go in there, and you know how it has a smiley face of how your pain level is 0 to a 10? I would be like, my pain is off this chart. And the severity of my pain was so unreal that I think that was the most traumatic part for me, was the severity of that pain, and it was constant. It was 20. It never went away. So when I saw him last month, we had our checkup, and I burst out crying. And it's like, I go in there, I volunteer, I walk through the hospital, but every time I go to oncology, I have the same problem. So I'm fine throughout the building. It's sitting in oncology. And I was like, I hate this, because I start crying, and then people are going to think something. Yeah, people are going to think I just found out some bad news. I've been over this. Now it's going to be 4 years, and I'm still crying over it.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be like that no matter what, because you know what you went through. No one else is going to be able to match mindset or to be able to totally 100% understand that.
Well, we're going to another book office now.
Yeah, they're very good. Yeah, it could very well be. It could be something very psychological. You need a change of scenery, a change of venue. You know, when I had my last oncology appointment, I ran into this young lady that I met when Look Good Feel Better did their photo shoot, which reminds me, I'm nationwide now.
Oh.
Look Good Feel Better program did a photo shoot March last year. Because they were getting ready to change.
First one?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because they were getting ready to change the look of they were getting ready to change their whole website, put new faces up and everything. But they didn't tell us when they were going to do this. We were like, okay, fine, you know. They needed Washington Hospital Center. They hooked me up because they were like, you know, they want more people of color because they didn't really have anyone of color from the other hospitals that they were sending to them. They were like, you know, we want people of color. We want like a mixed group. We were like, okay. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it, no problem. Went and did the photo shoot. We had to bring like whatever clothes we had on, plus like a set of like business attire clothes. They had, of course, like the whole layout with the wigs and everything. They filmed everything that we did. They took pictures of everything that we did, like how we do the makeup.
The same setting like they had in the original video, where they have everybody around the table and.
Yeah, the two wig guys, the two hair designers. Yeah, they were there. Everyone was there. We took photos and everything. I think the photos. I think I still have the link on my Facebook page. And
So you're on the Look Good, Feel Good, the National Cancer Society's video? Oh, okay.
the Look Good, Feel Better.
Check Look Good, Feel Better.
Yeah, I'm on their page. If you go to where it says, I think history. I think I've got like 1 or 2 pictures in the history section. But their pamphlets that came out recently, every hospital, every cancer institute that has a Look Good, Feel Better program has my face in it now. I didn't find out until like a couple months ago. I went for one of my appointments and I stopped in the patient care office because I always stop in there to talk to those women. And I walked in and what's her name, Marion. Marion's like, I have been looking for you. Where have you been? I was like, you normally come to this place when I have an appointment. I love you guys to death, but not to be here every time I turn around. I was like, because by the time I get off of work, y'all are closed anyway. It doesn't make any sense. So she was like, but I've been wanting to see you. She's like, because I have something to tell you. I was like, what? She reaches into a box and pulls out a pack and slides it across the desk. She's like, you're nationwide now. So the 4 faces on the front of the pamphlet is me and the other 3 women and 3 of the other 4 women that did the whole photo shoot together. So I looked at it and I was like, oh my God. She was like, yeah, she's like, she runs a Look Good, Feel Good program at Washington Hospital Center. So she had contacted them for them to send her like new updated flyers, like the regular flyers, so she can put them out, let people know, you know, we do this here too. So they sent her those plus these other pamphlets. When I saw that, she was like, so here's like 2 packages, because she's like, I know you need to get them out and about so everyone can see. I was like, okay.
I'm the big wig now.
Yeah.
I'm the big wig now. That is awesome.
On the Avon walk, I was on TV.
I wasn't ready to do the, but I did volunteer. I went to their office and I was one of the ones that called you to confirm your appointment, make sure you knew when we were meeting and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I just didn't feel like I was ready for the walk. And then I didn't feel I was ready because they had like the different shifts for the volunteer where you actually help set up camp and stuff like that. So next year, well, for the next one, I'm definitely either gonna do Susan Coleman or
I think my friend that walked with me, I call her my work